Israel är ett av de länder som har flest nystartade företag per capita. Du kanske känner igen Waze, SodaStream, Wiz eller Lightrick. Vi besöker Shimon Peres Center för fred och innovation i Tel Aviv, där man samlat alla fantastiska uppfinningar och innovationer.
This is an interesting innovation. It's available all over the world. It's called the pill cam. Have you heard of it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so this is a great example of the cross-sector I was talking about, the cross-sector technology. This is a pill that you swallow, and it is a selfie of your intestines.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
That's fantastic.
It comes from military technology. Dr. Gabriele Dunn came up with the idea. It comes from military technology. He was in charge of making sure the missiles had precision tech and got to where they were supposed to go. He was chatting with a friend who's in the medical field who said, listen, we don't have any way to see inside the small intestine. And so they shrunk the technology into a pill, and you swallow the pill, you wear a harness, and the pill goes and takes its photos of your guts, and doctors have a way of seeing inside the small intestine. It's used throughout the world. And it shows that you can take a technology that was built for one sector, and if you tweak it and adapt it and adopt it to another sector, it can also make an impact and in some way change that sector as well. And there are a lot of these cross-sector technologies that we can see. A lot of people know about, when they hear about Israel, they say cherry tomatoes.
Yeah,
Have you had any cherry tomatoes or salad?
every day, definitely.
How is the salad for you when you eat salad here?
Fantastic.
It tastes like it should, right?
It does.
It tastes like a vegetable. So when we talk about Israeli agriculture, we're talking about changing the makeup of the seeds or the cultivar. It's not GMO. It's really using innovation and technology to, in a way, adapt to some of the conditions in order to be able to grow in different places. Israel exports its technology, its agriculture technology, to many countries in the world to help them with their environments that they're in. The cherry tomatoes have become very famous here. Cherry tomatoes are not from Israel, they're from Peru. But when you would pick it in Peru, the shelf life wasn't very good. It was hit or miss how many seeds would be in the cherry tomato and whether it'd be sweet or not sweet. Once it went through an innovation process, the cherry tomatoes have a long shelf life, they're better colors, higher vitamin count and lower seeds, and they're always juicy and yummy and tasty in our salads.
Men vad är det då som gör att just israelerna är så bra på innovation? Kan man hitta förklaringen till den oerhörda innovationskraften i deras tradition om att ge tillbaka till världen? Biträdande generaldirektör för Peres Center förklarar för oss.
What is the connection between innovation and peace, would you say?
So it's I think the answer to this question goes back about 70 years when David Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister, asked Shimon Peres to come and join him as a very young man to help him in the work of establishing the young Israeli state. And in Shimon Peres's last book, his memoir, basically called No Room for Small Dreams, he had actually mentioned one of the first professional meetings that he had with Ben-Gurion, where Ben-Gurion called him into the office and said to him, look, I'm the prime minister, which means I'm responsible for everything that exists. What I want you to be responsible for is for everything that doesn't exist yet. And I think when you look back and you see that and you talk about Israel and Israelis and the entrepreneurial and innovative spirit, that's where the first Israeli entrepreneur was born. Because Peres was empowered by Ben-Gurion to look into the future and be active in creating the foundations for a prosperous future for Israel and Israelis. And for Shimon Peres, creating those foundations was focused on security, focused on defense, focused on economy, but also very much focusing on peace building and peace and shared living between all Israelis from all backgrounds, but also between Israel and our neighbors. And he saw that, and we see that as of strategic importance for Israel.
So this spirit of innovation, where does it come from? How is it so deeply rooted in the culture here?
Well, you know, there are a lot of researches going around the startup nation and spirit of innovation, and many will say that it stems from the military and the R&D work that the military is focused on. Others will say that it's the relationship between Israel and multinational corporations that established their factories or their companies here. Shimon Peres said that it was because Israelis are always dissatisfied. And because we are always dissatisfied, we're always working to improve and to better reality. But again, it comes to the fact that we have established a country without any natural resources, with a lot of needs that have come up from this little small bit of land. And to address these needs, we need to be creative and innovative and think outside of the box and really focusing on looking into the future.
What about this saying? What's it called?
Tikkun olam.
Tikkun olam. That could have a religious connection also for some people. What does that mean even? Can you tell us what that means?
Yeah, so Tikkun Olam, the official, the technical translation is repairing the world. And the prophets told the people of Israel that we as the Jewish people have a responsibility not only to ourselves as a community, but we have a responsibility to the world entire. And as Jews, we need to be light upon the nations, and we need to work to repair the world for everyone. And Shimon Peres was very connected to his Judaism and to Jewish culture. And for him, he always wanted to explore how we take the value of repairing the world and making that into a tangible output. And he always aimed to do that through his work as a statesman, but also through the work of the Peres Center for Peace and Innovation. And I think there are two very strong examples of that. One of that is the way that we try to tell the story of Israeli innovation. And you've seen that in the tour downstairs. And talking about Israeli innovation as the tangible output of Tikkun Olam, of repairing the world. Another beautiful example of that is one of our peace building programs that we have been implementing for 20 years, where we bring in Palestinian children from West Bank and Gaza who need life-saving or life-changing treatment, and they cannot receive it in Palestinian hospitals quite of yet. And so we bring them into Israel and treat them. And we've treated and helped over 13,000 children. And for Shimon Peres, that was a tangible output of repairing the world, because he always said, if you ask me how I want to be remembered after I'm gone, it'll be as someone who saved the life of a child. So these are just examples of the way that he wanted Tikkun Olam to be real and practical and felt.
Ett annat område där Israel kommit långt är i framställandet av hälsosam mat. Vi besöker Doc Matok, som har lyckats reducera sockerhalten i kakor och godis. Ett av många företag som börjat i liten skala som en startup och sedan vuxit.
We only sense a small part of the sugar that's in it, and most of it is just swallowed without being sensed. But the entirety of the sugar is important because it's the amount of sugar, or actually the concentration of sugar, that we are sensing to develop the sense of sweetness. But since this process happens only very quickly when we are chewing, because most of us, we just take a bite, taste it a few times and then swallow. If in this short period we are able to move more sugar from the food and into our sweet taste receptors, we will taste it as being sweeter. And this is exactly what we are doing. So we're not using any chemical, we're not using any artificial molecules, just using the same sugar, but we are controlling its structure and its expression in the food matrix so it counts as more. And this is the beauty of having a sugar reduction solution which is based on sugar. And the biggest advantage of this technology is that because it's made of sugar, it has the same taste as sugar. It's not artificial, it doesn't have any lingering or any aftertaste, it's just sugar.
Let's say now I'm a consumer, I can choose between your sugar and ordinary sugar. what are the arguments that I can
the
benefit from as a consumer?
As a consumer, the most important to you should be your health. And of course, the enjoyment and the taste and the taste.
What is the gaining?
The health aspects, the negative aspects of sugar are widely known. Overconsumption of sugar is accepted as a scientific fact in the world. So reducing the amount of sugar surely is recommended and beneficial for everyone in the Western world for sure, and in many other parts of the world as well. So when you're using Credo sugar, take for example a bar of chocolate. Know that milk chocolate is approximately 50% sugar. If we can reduce this 50%, this 50 grams in a tablet of 100 grams to 25 grams, so reducing 50% of the sugar, this is much better. And not only we're reducing the sugar, we're also making room for the good stuff. You can add dietary fibers, which we are all missing in our nutrition. You can add proteins, which many people would like to increase their consumption, etc., etc. So the benefits are double. We're not only reducing the sugar, we're also making room for better ingredients, which are better for our health.
The Times Magazine said in a couple of years back that this is one of the most innovative, best innovations now. And we find a lot of these types of innovations in Israel in general. Israel is normally in the top 10 or top 15, in many different categories. What would you say is the cause for that, or the reason that there are so many? Food tech is very big here in Israel.
Yes, I think that food tech specifically Israel is only second to the United States in amount of capital raised for companies, startup companies in food technology, which is quite unique considering the size of the population. So I'm certainly not an expert on the matter, but I do know that the culture and the ecosystems are very important, because when you are as a young person, a young scientist, a young entrepreneur, you have lots of friends, you have conferences, you have meetups, you have a constant bombardment of news articles about successful companies. It makes you realize that things can happen, and you are the only one that's stopping yourself from doing something interesting. So it's definitely something in the culture and the exposure to this culture which makes the propensity for entrepreneurship, and well, startup nation is already a coined term. Everything makes it easier as an Israeli scientist to come to the field of innovation. Right.
What's the next big thing, would you say, within food tech?
I think that there's quite a few big things already happening. I don't know if it's right to call them the next, because they're already quite here. We have the all kinds of cultured meats, which is a very big thing, both in environmental and moral areas. We have many companies that are dealing with this in Israel. Of course, we have the plant-based meat substitutes and the plant or fermentation-based milk substitutes, or whichever you want to call them. So there's a few very big Israeli companies exactly in those fields, which raised very large amounts of money. They have a very big talent pool, and they are pushing towards industrialization in the coming years of their innovations. So all of these are set to completely change the food industry as we know it. And of course, we wish them luck.
Vi går över till labbet och får själva prova. Är kakorna verkligen lika goda när man reducerat upp till 50% av sockret?
So we have actually laid out blind tasting for you. Oh. And here's what's interesting is many times when you're working on a sugar reduction project, people would just give you a product and say, do you like it? Is it tasty? Is it sweet? And you can say, I like it. Yeah, I prefer it. I don't like it. Like we give you a product. What we do is we take it a step further and we give you blind tasting. So we have the same cookie or the same chocolate recipe, once with full sugar, once with incredible sugar. Wow. And you need to put your taste buds to the test and see if it's same sweetness, We have one of them, and I'm not going to tell you which one.
Yep, don't tell us.
Sugar, and another one with incredible sugar.
Yep.
And you can taste it and say which is sweeter. I mean, they could be the same for you. You can say one is sweeter, one is less
sweet. Okay, you first then.
But you can try.
Okay.
You try something first and then I will pick something.
I try this one.
Vilket bra jobb du har.
Underbart.
Som får stå och smaka såna här grejer.
Och vi ska fortsätta med det här jobbet.
Ja. Kanske kan bli en grej att vi åker runt och smakar på grejer.